ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Namaste, all of you. Welcome back to our continuing study of Shrimad Bhagawad Geetha from the pages of Poojya Swamiji's, Poojya Swami Dayananda Saraswati's Geetha home study course. In these sessions, we have been studying chapter 16 of Shrimad Bhagawad Geetha, titled Daiva Asura Sampat Vibhaga Yogaha. Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yogaha. A chapter in which Lord Krishna discusses those characteristics or traits that are becoming of a human being and those that are not becoming of a human being. In the first three shlokas of this chapter, beginning from Abhayam, Lord Krishna taught 26 values that are becoming of a human being. 26 Daivi Sampats. Now, from the fourth verse, Krishna not only lists out some of the Asuri Sampats, the wealth that an Asura is endowed with. Not only does he list out some of the Asuri Sampats, but he is going to, in detail, discuss the topic of Asuri Sampat. So let us move on with our study and look into what Krishna and Poojya Swamiji have to say about this topic, Asuri Sampats. Like we saw earlier, Krishna begins with a description of the Asuri Sampat, first briefly and then in detail. We heard from Poojya Swamiji that these characteristics are told here so that we are knowledgeable, so that we know what to avoid. What to avoid. The idea is that in the avoidance of the negative, the positive is also cultivated. In the avoidance of the negative, the positive is also cultivated. We need to know both sides of the coin so that we can effectively discriminate one from the other, avoid those traits that are unbecoming, and cultivate those that are positive or becoming. We entered shloka number 4, Asuri Sampat. We will read this shloka for the sake of continuity and take our discussion forward from then on. Shloka number 4. Dambho darpobhimanascha क्रोधः पारुष्यमेव च अज्ञानं चाभिजातस्य पार्थसम्पदमासुरीम्. Partha, O Partha, Asurim Sampadam, to the wealth of an Asura, Abhijatasya, for the one who is born, Dambha, hypocrisy with reference to Dharma, Darpaha, pride, Abhimanaha, cha, tendency to demand respect, Krodha, anger, Parushyam evacha, and indeed harshness, Ajnanam cha, and a lack of discrimination. Partha, Arjuna, the one who is born to the wealth of an Asura, has hypocrisy with reference to Dharma, pride, a tendency to demand respect, anger, harshness, and indeed a lack of discrimination. Interesting to understand how an Asuri mind works. Asuri, the word Asuri means that which belongs to an Asura. That which belongs to an Asura. All our literature is replete with the altercations between the Devas and the Asuras, who, as you can see now, represent our internal conflicts. Our Puranas and Itihasas have ingeniously personified the Daivi Sampats and the Asuri Sampats by depicting a constant sense of being at loggerheads between the Devas and the Asuras, to indicate that these are our internal tendencies. They represent our internal conflicts. Everybody enjoys the qualities of a Deva to an extent. Absence of hurting, compassion, love, and so on are all very natural, at least towards oneself under certain circumstances. And the qualities of an Asura are also there. These two are always at loggerheads and are portrayed in our stories as battles between the Devas and the Asuras. Even if there is a person who seems to embody the qualities of an asura, it is not because he is bad, but because his thinking is wrong. Let me repeat that important sentence. Even if there is a person who seems to embody the qualities of an asura, it is not because he is bad, but because his thinking is wrong. So, an important corollary that can be derived from this statement is, if we change the paradigm of our thinking process, we can slowly but surely shed the wrong channels of thinking that are present in our antakaranams and ascend the ladder of Daivi Sampat in course of time. There's a lot of hope in that statement if you look at it in depth. One is not condemned forever to be an asura. One can evolve, one can uh, rectify our thought processes and change for the better. All conflicts first happen within. All conflicts first happen within and then express themselves in the external world. Every war is first waged in the mind. Every war is first waged in the mind. If it cannot be resolved there in the mind, it expresses itself externally. With proper inquiry, these conflicts get resolved as they arise. Mind you, with proper inquiry. We are not trying to avoid their occurrence. We are not trying to avoid their occurrence. That is natural. But we resolve them within so that they do not find an external expression. Beautiful pearls of wisdom from Poojya Swamiji. We are not trying to avoid their occurrence. That is natural. But we resolve them within so that they do not find an external expression. We resolve them, we dissolve them internally. If that resolving capacity is not there, or the people around do not help the resolution, but inflame the conflict, a war erupts. Look at the psychology of how thoughts express in words and actions. If that resolving capacity is not there, or the people and circumstances around do not help the resolution, but inflame the conflict, a war erupts. It can be a war of words initially. Then, when that fire becomes a conflagration, it can become a physical war. We can notice this in the attitude of Duryodhana Adi. If we picturize the situation and the circumstances that Duryodhana and his lot were in, then we can easily understand this statement given out by Poojya Swamiji. If that resolving capacity is not there, Duryodhana Adi did not have that resolving capacity, or the people around do not help the resolution, the Shakuni Adi, the Duchasanas, the Karnas, the people around do not help the resolution, but inflame the conflict, stoke the conflict, a war erupts. The Mahabharata war could not be avoided only because of this Asuri Sampati. The Mahabharata war could not be avoided only because of this Asuri Sampati. It is very pertinent for Lord Krishna to talk about Asuri Sampati here because it has brought the war that Arjuna is facing. All the problems are because of Duryodhana's thinking. Yad bhavo tad bhavati. Yad bhavo tad bhavati. All the problems are because of Duryodhana's thinking, which is here called Asuri Sampati. Here, we must understand that there is no person who has only these qualities. Everyone has some measure of Daivi Sampat too. The Asuri Sampat is being detailed here only to understand what it is. Why does everybody have some measure of Daivi Sampat? An interesting question to be answered. Because everyone is made up of the three gunas. The minds of everyone are made up of sattva, rajas, and tamas. The mind being born of Maya, Maya is trigunatmika. So the mind ought to have the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So it is the sattva guna that gives rise to or even represents the predominance of sattva guna represents Daivi Sampat. Or sattva guna can be magnified by following the injunctions to cultivate Daivi Sampats. So every one of us has some measure of Daivi Sampat in us. We also have the Asuri Sampats in us, represented by the Rajo and Tamo Gunas. The Asuri Sampats are being detailed here after Krishna detailed the Daivi Sampats. They are being detailed here only to understand what Asuri Sampats are, so that we are aware. Krishna wants to create an awareness about what Asuri Sampats are. We will continue our study in the upcoming capsules and take it forward from there. Hari Om.